Well, that's nobody but the Swazis with their song Pray here on the Morning Mix. 27 minutes to 9 o'clock it is. Nice to have you all with us. And also you in the company with Big Mitch and Coffee. Nice to have you.
Kaufman, Moro.
Moro.
Crew.
Yes, and then today we will also be joined by our very famous man in the backs, in the shall we call it the back seats, the guy that actually runs it all to make sure that we are live on air and that everything runs smoothly.
The man that owns the Oscars.
Samuel Shines joining us.
I'm about to pull out the Will Smith.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you with us. We're just saying good morning to a couple of our friends out there. Good morning to Gladness, also Heleni. Victor de Kock is also watching. Good morning, Vic. Nice to have you with us on the show. Sebi, good morning. And also Gert Jacobi is also on air watching us. Nice to have everybody with us on this beautiful Tuesday. Today is the 29th of March, if I don't have it mistaken. The 29th of March, we've made it. And we've got a jam-packed show for you. Unfortunately, Neville will not be joining us today. He will only be rejoining us tomorrow. He's got, is your microphone on? I don't, because I can't really hear you. Just a moment. There you go.
1, 2.
There we go.
Right.
So, because he's got some responsibilities. That's why Neville is not joining us today. And the question that I have is, have we now moved on? Are we now finished with this whole Will Smith and Chris Rock thing? Because it was basically just inundating any media.
I think we'll only be done when we get in August.
Why? Why in August?
So the dude that actually had an affair with Will Smith's wife.
Right.
His name is August.
Ah, I get it. Okay. All right. I wasn't totally with you. My word. Did he have a...
It's only March, and the year is finally starting to march along.
Yes.
The worries are gone, the January, the February's. So, yeah, man, I believe, we're hoping to see greater things now, in the year. Hopefully COVID-19 is fading out. Mm-hmm. We're just hoping that by the time we get to the winter season, we don't have another...
Do you think we might have another spike again as the colder...
I'm a little bit worried because during the weekend I had a gig, a performance somewhere.
Right. And
I kind of feel like we are so relaxed that we are gone back to our normal reality. Nobody really cares. Everybody's mingling around with everybody, and people don't have masks on or social distancing anymore. It's like COVID never existed, especially when people are consuming a little bit of liquor.
Well, at this particular point in time, we've got 172 active cases in Namibia, of which newly confirmed cases yesterday were 5. We had 0 recoveries, but also 0 deaths. So we're standing at 172. And this is a question that I've asked. Are we really, really past COVID, or are we possibly going to see a spike coming up again as from May? Because everybody was saying as from May it's going to happen again.
Because when you've been through something, you always have this thing of you always have trust issues. Remember last year during the regional council elections,
Right.
or the campaigns rather,
Yes.
we had almost the same thing where everybody was relaxed. Everybody, politicians were running their campaigns, their rallies and stuff, and then there were no cases. I don't know if we had stopped testing, or COVID was a little bit on hold. But whatever was happening, nobody really knows. And post elections,
Yes.
then boom, there was COVID again, like really, really hard, and even to a point where the numbers of gatherings were reduced again.
But do you think we'll take it with the same seriousness we took it in the first wave and the second wave? I mean, when it hits us again and the numbers spike up and whatsoever, would we want to go back to that mindset as the people of Namibia? Would we want to? Do you think that would happen?
I don't know if I'm understanding you correctly, but I think you say the reaction that we had at first.
Yeah, like will we
On
take
the
it with the
first
same
wave.
seriousness? Yeah.
What you have to understand is this: the first reaction can never be compete, or it will always remain undefeated, because that was your first reaction. It's like it's like your first kiss. That set of memories always remains undefeated, and that's what happened when COVID first kicked off. I mean, you remember, everybody was scared just for one COVID-19 case confirmed. I mean, everybody was panicking. When we got to 6, we called out a lockdown.
Right.
And then on the second wave, we open up the country where we have over 10,000 cases. Like, do you see the dynamics? But either way, the first wave wasn't as deadly as the second wave, because the Delta variant was more actually deadly, and it killed a lot of people. Because I remember sometimes in June last year, May, June, July, that's when we had our really, really, really fertile rate, like really high.
Yes. Yes.
We lost a lot of people last year than 2020, but people were more fearful in 2020 than in 2021. But in 2020 had a little bit of.
Don't you think we got hardened off?
You see,
We got hardened off.
It's
That
exactly what I'm talking
we
about.
kind of acknowledged it was sad
we
to have all
live
these
with it.
deaths,
We have
but
to
we
live
kind
with
of acknowledged it.
Acknowledge
Yeah.
it like,
Yeah.
it's all right. No.
yeah,
You can,
so we made COVID part of it. Like, oh, okay, it's it's part of it. It's COVID. He died of COVID. We're starting to sort of like making it a reality. Like, okay, COVID is part of us. It's a daily thing. Every day we expect to hear somebody dead of COVID. But even though it's not,
And I mean, we were cruising at one stage. I think when we topped it, we were at something like 28,000 active cases in Namibia. For a small country like
for
this,
a small country like this,
it was huge for us.
devastating.
And now we are seeing it. We are seeing a massive spike again in China. The UK is just slowly but surely getting out of it. So now, remember when China initially had it, it took like a couple of months before it actually reached our shores in Walvis Bay. But China at the moment is once again on a peak.
Yeah.
So the question is just, when is it going to come to us, especially knowing that our immunization figures are not the way that they should be.
Right.
so we all agree that not a lot of people are getting tested this time around. And that's probably why we have these low figures.
Well, we can't really, be sure about it that we're not testing, because we're not the ones handling the test.
But do you
all
see
we can
testing
say is
centers?
all we can say is that, do they indicate how many tests were done, or they indicate?
No, the
So they just
Ministry
indicate-
of Health.
I think they just
is-
indicate the
is
results.
Just indicate these
The
results on a
results, yeah.
daily basis.
Yeah, so they
come
can't
out.
tell you how many people were tested.
No.
I think that was to be practiced before, but I think it has stopped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like sample, how many samples were taken and how many
Yeah.
turned out negative and positive.
Well, 172 active cases with newly confirmed cases. 5, I think for the time being, we don't really have to speak about COVID that much anymore, because it's kind of insignificant.
Right.
At the
So we
moment.
can conclude
Yes, we can
at
conclude.
this moment that we are better
Yes,
in terms of COVID,
yeah.
and that we're hoping that this is going to be all right for the next 7 months.
Yes,
Hopefully going forward until next year.
yes. Okay, so let's hit you off with the daily news, and then we'll open up the topics from there.
Informanté News. Informanté News. Informanté News. Informanté News.
This is Informanté Live, and these are our top stories. Drama in the Etosha National Park on Saturday, where the Namibian police and nature conservation officials had to use a helicopter, a small aircraft, and armed officers on the ground to deal with Mopani worm harvesters who strayed into the park. This happened despite strict warnings by the Ministry of Environment, constituency councillors, and traditional leaders over several days and through a variety of platforms. An undetermined number of people were caught red-handed harvesting Mopani worms inside the park, which is strictly prohibited not only for endangered wildlife in the park, but also because those who so stray into the lion-infested park are putting their own lives in danger. They were rounded up and removed from the park. Their plastic containers and bags of worms were confiscated and taken away to be destroyed. Their camping site at the Ushiku village outside but near the park's fence was also dismantled, and they were ordered to return to their villages of origin. After 27 years in business, the Achenbach family is forced to rebuild the Henties Bay Spa supermarket, which burnt down on Saturday in the hopes of opening by the end of this year. While the cause of the fire has not been determined yet, one of the supermarket's owners, Dalian Achenbach, stated that the Henties Bay Spa team are working tirelessly to salvage what can be saved in preparation for the supermarket's reopening in a few months. Dalian stated that they intend to have the supermarket operational by November at the same location. Acknowledging that the effects of this incident go beyond the Achenbach family, Dalian emphasized that the Henties Bay Spa employees, which are about 65, can be assured of their security of their jobs and their salaries in the meantime. And finally, a 42-year-old Namibian woman and her 23-year-old Zambian boyfriend are fighting for their lives after a jilted ex-lover opened fire on them at their residence in Katima Mulilu in the Zambezi region. The incident happened on Sunday at the Lisikili village. According to the police, the couple were reportedly at their residence when the woman's ex-boyfriend entered the house and shot the man in the right thigh and the woman in the right arm. The suspect allegedly traveled from Kwena to Lisikili on Sunday and fled the scene after the incident. The two victims were taken to the Katima hospital and are in critical condition. The suspect is a Namibian man known to the police but has not been arrested as yet. Your Trustco share price today, the 29th of March, is at $1.20 per share. Taking a brief look at the financial indicators, the Namibia dollar is trading against the US dollar at 14 Namibia dollars and 70 cents. Against the euro at 16 Namibia dollars and 10 cents, and against the British pound at 19 Namibia dollars and 20 cents. This is Informanté Live, and these were our top stories. You can find more on our website, which is informante.web.na.
Informanté News. Informanté News. Informanté News. Firm but fair.
And it is the fourth week of our Easter competition on Informanté Live. This week's competition is a photo shoot with the compliments of AB Photography. You stand a chance to win a voucher to the value of 1,500 Namibia dollars for a photo shoot. All you have to do is go to our Informanté Live Facebook page and go to the competition post and type in hashtag AB Photography in the comments section. And you stand a chance to win a 1,500 Namibia dollar voucher from AB Photography. Winners will be announced on social media, and this competition will end on the 30th of March. So there we have it. In the news today, it's nice to see that the spa that burnt down in Henties Bay is on its way to recovery. Hopefully it will be rebuilt and completed towards the end of the year again. It's also nice to see that none of the employees, the 65 employees working at the spa, are going to lose their jobs. They can be assured of the security of their jobs and also their salaries. So that is good
nice.
news.
That's a nice one.
So this drama in the Etosha National Park, do you think it is should be allowed that people stray into the park and go and harvest Mopani worms?
Coffee, I'm you know, at some point I feel like I'm conflicted because, you know, well, I understand it's natural resources that people feel like, and some of these things are seasonal. It only comes once a year, and then they need to have some of that. You know, these are the people that live in their The remote areas will always believe that nature has a way of feeding its people. That the universe has provided this for them. And for them to really understand that they were not allowed to get in there because of safety reasons, they just feel like the government is just against us. It's against progress. It's an animal progress. They just don't want us to enjoy ourselves and collect these and go sell and make some money. But again, when I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute. All right. So government probably has really good reasons as to why they say, people shouldn't stray in the national park.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, they are safety concerned because they could also become prey of, predators.
Sure.
That's number one. Number two is policies. Order has to be maintained.
Mm. It is against the law.
It's against the law. But again, I stand in between where I say, where do we draw the line to allow people enjoying the natural resources that is freely provided to them by the universe, such as frogs and, worms and.
But Chines, isn't it really poaching?
Well, when you think about it,
Legally,
it's poaching.
yeah, probably.
When you think about it in a way, it's poaching. But I mean, are we going to be going around and stopping people from enjoying the natural resources, such as those things, especially seasonal things? It's not like really the government is taking care of these, creatures for tourism purposes.
It's a good point. But let's say somebody gets mauled by a lion there while they're doing that.
Yeah.
And then then it's the government's fault for
Yeah.
not letting them do that.
Yeah.
So the government can be held liable or when somebody gets mauled there in the national park. So I think the government is just trying to protect themselves.
But I think, where there's a will, there's a way. If government maybe could provide certain measures such as, we avail security forces to accompany these people to enjoy to a certain extent and drop certain levels that you can only go up until here and have as much as you could. I think in that way we can mitigate a little bit of this chaos because those are people that want to understand. They want to understand why government is doing ABC. For them, they just feel like, especially in our administration where we became a little bit more, sort of like blaming everything to the government. Every failure has to be pointed to the government. Mm-hmm. Even in this regard, there's still somebody out there who feels like government is just really, they're just being obtuse. And this is like a hell of absurdity where they don't want them to enjoy. That's the people's feeling out there. They just feel like government doesn't want them to enjoy.
Do these people harvest the worms to sell them or do they harvest the worms to eat them?
Both.
Uh-huh.
You harvest enough. Mm-hmm. Like really enough to
Sell
sell. And
we've had a couple of years ago, we've had that incident where Chinese people were involved, where they went into the region north of, I think it was Kamanyap, into that area, where they got locals involved, where they would basically drop them off next to the roads and just let them go into the bush and collect whatever it is that they can find, whether it's a bird, whether it's a scorpion, a snake, a worm, doesn't matter, maybe even, some bigger animals, like maybe guinea fowls or something, but they just basically went into the bush and just collected anything that they could find, from chameleons to scorpions to worms,
but for
and put them into bags, yes, and then basically just wait for the Chinese people to come and pick them up again and then pay them per bag. And I mean, that is what we call now, on a different scale, poaching.
No, Kalfi, I think that is poaching because you see, we have to understand here, we are talking about something that is there for a lifetime and something that is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
So when something is seasonal, what happens is that when its season ends, its lifespan actually really comes to an end.
Right.
It either dies or, worms develop into butterflies. Some of them. I think some of them most probably just die. I don't know. I'm not really an agricultural expert. But what I'm saying, what happens when government stops these people from enjoying and harvesting these worms, and then 2 months later, all of them just die because their season has come to an end.
Right.
So what then?
Right. So it's
It doesn't
kind
really-
of a kind of a two-edged sword,
Yeah,
isn't it? It is
yeah.
against the
It
law.
is against the law, but the law can still be revealed, and we find, a provision that allows these people to do a little bit of what they could, without really causing any damage to the, to the national park, and with also their safety, as a matter of concern, and to make sure that no fatalities are recorded.
Up to now, yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can. The NDF is literally in there sitting there doing nothing.
Like
Right.
We can have, for as much as they can still enforce Kalahari to go and put order, they can still deploy Kalahari in the
For
national
safety.
park, and just make sure that these people are safe.
Yes.
And also and also they can also monitor their movement. Like, hey, don't do unnecessary things there. You're only there to harvest, because I think now their fear is that, of course, there are opportunists. There is somebody who will go there, but their aim is to go pouch, to go,
Well, it's
to
certainly
go hunt
they,
other,
they have now been removed.
Yeah.
The whatever is that. What those worms that they harvested, that has been confiscated, and also the place that was close to the fence of the park, the Oshiku village, that has
Right.
also been dismantled, and they were all ordered to return to their villages of origin. So obviously these people came from other places, settled there, built themselves a kind of a village,
Yeah,
and from there on
they
they
camp.
they
They camp. They go
Uh-huh.
there. They actually go there to camp,
right.
because they go in groups. Like,
Okay.
for example, they invite each other.
I can only imagine that these are then basically being taken to markets, maybe in Umuthia, Ondangwa, Shakati.
They do.
And then from there on they get sold on.
They get sold on.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is not the first time like that we have a story like this.
Yes.
Like the San people, which had the right to hunt, farm, and in their own ancestral homeland, were being shot by the police from Botswana. But there's actually a story, but I was just looking it up. Like a group of bushmen, like they say, who were hunting antelope to feed their families, have been shot at from a police helicopter, which later crushed and injured 6 officers. While it was enforcing Botswana's hunting ban, 9 bushmen were arrested and subsequently stripped naked and beaten while in custody. So you have been living there your whole life. Somebody starts to try and make money off your homeland, and they build a fence around it. But this has been your hunting ground. So where do we, like he asked, where do we draw that line? I was feeding my family from this part.
Okay.
I was feeding my family from this.
Are we seeing this kind of thing happening only recently, or has this been going
It
on
has
for
been
years
going
that
on.
they've
It has been
entered
going
into the park and harvested the worms?
I think there was a time where they used to do it freely, and I don't know where. I can't remember, but I can't really recall exactly at which year that was. But I remember, or maybe it was not in the park, but maybe just somewhere in the forest. But I remember there was a time where people would go out there and collect.
Right.
They would harvest and come back and sell, and
Right.
Yeah.
And then perhaps if it's not controlled now, if it's not, being controlled by the police now, at this stage it is worms. I mean, they're camping there, these people, and then from there on it might go over into poaching. Then afterwards it would be wild animals. So it
Yeah.
started with worms, and then
Yeah.
it started
That's what I
growing.
was saying.
And the next thing we
You get
have
a
is
point.
we've got local Namibians walking around the park with their own guns, and and just harvesting whatever it is that they can shoot.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There of course we have those opportunities who go there because Shine saw Mitch going there to harvest these worms, and Chance is going there with his rifles
Right.
because it's open.
Yes.
But this is now we say we can find a way that works better for government that still allows people. We must strike a balance.
Even if
Get
this
the security personnel is in there to monitor what these people are doing.
Let's look at a couple of the comments.
Let me just make this point. Let's say the people decide, no, okay, they're just gonna hunt or collect these worms or hunt like from both sides, like I'm saying, from this side of the fence, they're not going to go in the park anymore. And 5 years after, the Etosha National Park decides to extend the game. Do they have to move again with the extension of the park?
I think I don't really get your point, but
Listen
that's
first,
expropriation.
listen.
If that's if they have to be moved from their area, they will be compensated.
No, I'm not saying they're staying there. So now the park decides, okay, you guys cannot come into the park. Yeah? So here's the fence of the park. So don't come over here and collect those worms or hunt here. What you can do is you can do it here. So let's say in 5 years, the Etosha National Park decides, okay, we're gonna extend up till here.
Oh,
now,
so you
would they have
mean-
to move? Would they have to now agree with the government again? And how long is that gonna happen?
No, I don't think that is a reality that the park would extend.
Yeah,
I
that's-
don't think that
yeah,
will
that's,
ever happen.
Yeah, that's
Really?
that's merely an imagination that won't meet reality.
Yes,
Because
yes.
what you're saying is that, for example, there's the shared area here for grazing or whatnot, and then the park will have to extend. The park would never be extended because, in fact, the park is close to what do you call them? Communal lands, and those people are that's their land. Especially the Etosha, that would never be extended.
Shines,
Where it is would just, I think they have enough land. They have no reason or merits to extend it in the national park.
But haven't we seen other parks where people are physically living inside the park? I mean, where we've got maybe in the Kunini region, where there are people that are part of that ecosystem. It's not only just animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
one needs to find. I tend to agree with you. One needs to find the balance between humans and animals and how that all could
And
fit
safety.
together.
Yeah.
And obviously safety. I mean, we can't just have, let's say, children running around there, and the next thing we've got lions eating children and stuff like that. Let's just have a look at a couple of the comments. Amakali says, good morning. Natalie says also, good morning, Kofi, and good morning, baby daddy. Morning, top fans and MMC family. Happy Cake Day, Norma Guth. More life blessing and good health, may your day be blessed. That comes from Shora. Also, Mitch sê, praat jy van my, van wat sê ene?
Natalie moet gesê,
Natalie van More Baby Daddy.
Nou
Okay.
vraag is het ek of wie is dit?
He's asking, Mitch, that cup though, how hot is your tea? He's just asking. Norma Guth says, Guten Morgen zusammen. Guten Morgen, Norma. Nice to have you with us on the show. Also, Vanessa says, good morning, Shines. Oh, Vanessa has it for you, Shinesy.
I got it too. She a friend of mine now.
Ja, Mohau sê, kap jy maar net aan met daai Duitser. Ja, it's because Steve Hofmeyer is in town that Maluma took the day off. Yeah, we'll find out about that tomorrow, Mohau. Then Vanessa sê, los my verhouding uit. Los dit uit. Okay, Regina is saying they should harvest but sustainably. So what Regina is doing is basically agreeing kind of with myself and Shines, and I think Mitch as well, that we need to find a balance there. Sylvia says, Moro my peeps, ek hoop julle is na. Ja, ons is. Regina also says those worms are like relish to the Ovambo people. It is really important for them and a source of income too. Sure, absolutely. Mohau says, julle plus sizes het almal julle manne secure vir die winter. Yeah, no, we are perking up weight. Mitch is still trying to lose his weight. When is your end? When is your target date?
It's going to be in August.
In August.
I will put you.
We'll see, because we don't really see
Smith
any
will smack you.
development. Yes. Are we seeing any progress?
Not yet.
Okay. Queenie says seasonal delicacy mopani and they do fetch a good price in a supermarket. And I know in southern Zimbabwe there's very much high demand of it, and some parts of South Africa served well either dried or fried. How are they being prepared? Because I've never had
In most
dried or
cases,
fried.
Both. Yeah, it could be if they are fresh, they first boil them, and then after boiling them, they actually dry them.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are dried. They boil them actually and put salt,
I see.
and then
Okay.
they dry them.
Right.
and then they come and fry them later, or keep them actually for to sort of to keep them for a longer time without refrigerating them. You just boil them. And
Okay.
Keep them there.
Then Philemon is also saying, good morning, crew. Raymond Basson says, Namibian soldiers, please shines. They will run as hulle die leeu net hoor brul. Yeah. And then he says, why not organize themselves as a cooperative and engage relevant authorities to put in place frameworks to harvest them in an organized manner that caters to the concerns of all concerned. They do not have longevity in lifespan, but can fetch a good seasonal income. But then how wouldn't that be difficult? I understand what Trini is saying.
Yeah, I also understand.
Could we put this into place that it's more structured? But the moment we do that, we are then excluding, I guess, certain people again, who feel that they also have a right. So we can't really do a free for all thing, can we?
I think what Trini is saying is that maybe if they could organize themselves as a group, a community, or a concerned community about this, what is going on here, and then they approach the authorities that, listen,
Right.
is there any way that we can do this without actually causing any damage to the park, or without actually being in a sense of a threat to you guys or to the national park, and in a way that we are also safe?
Yes.
But again, I understand that, but my question still is, isn't leadership there to actually assess what is good for the people? Because government is people. I feel like leadership is also just relaxed. They are not really, and they are not really paying attention to what really these people want and what they need.
Yes.
Not only what they want, but what they need. Some of these things are a need, Coffee. They are not
Right.
only a want.
I
It's a
think-
need.
I think
If community leaders actually could come up and say, look, we are approaching the central government to relook at their policies, and we do this and this. We shouldn't wait for the general public to approach us with the changes they want, because there's a reason why we have regional, community leaders, the councillors and all those. Those are the people that are closer to the community. They
Yes.
should observe
But
what those people need.
You've also got to remember that the moment that they go into the park, they are not in that community anymore. They've left that community. They are now in a national park. So those leaders are now basically exempt. Maybe they can bring it up to talk about it, but the moment that they leave that area, it doesn't become those leaders' responsibility.
I don't know, Kofi. I think you my point is misconstrued. What I'm saying is, right, we don't care where they are from. We don't. What we care about is where they are going to. Let's say you have people from Kakarara. You got people from Tsunkwe.
Right?
You got people from, for example, Tintabis. And all those people want to go harvest in Etosha.
Right.
Okay. What we're saying here is that leadership from the people, from the communities in which those people reside, are the ones to approach central government.
I get you. But
And
look here.
say, look, these people are concerned. They want to go harvest. Is there no a way that we can allow them to go there?
But
and
why
we
should the
monitor their
leaders?
safety?
Why should the leaders though? You came to come fence off a place where people were freely harvesting and freely hunting.
No.
So you sh-
fencing. Look, Mitch. Fencing is a really Fencing is a crucial element, because if those areas were not
Chief-
fenced off,
Yeah.
there would be a lot of people, becoming prey to the predators. We're
Or
not.
Have you
poaching
seen?
for them.
Okay,
Or-
but
or
listen. Have you
poaching.
seen that when it wasn't fenced off?
Huh?
Have you heard about a lot of people being prey to the predators before those places were fenced off?
No, surely we've had incidents.
No, we have had.
We've
Look,
had
Mitch,
incidents.
we're
We
not
have
trying-
incidents, but was it like it happened daily? It happened what? It didn't. These people knew how to protect themselves,
Mitch.
how to stay away from that as well.
You see, now
So-
we are staying away from the point that we are talking about, because you see, we are not going back to the past, and that's.
It's not about the past. Like, you should have just let me finish. So I'm saying, if I come through and I fence off a place where you had your daily needs from, where you used to feed your family from, me, the person that is fencing off this place, should find policies or ways for you to be able to still feed your family. That's what I mean. It shouldn't come from me that was already living there or from my leaders that were living there. The government should have been like, okay, guys, we know you guys have been living off this and making earning money or earns meat from those Mupani worms and so on. So what we will do is for 2 weeks, we will gather everybody that wants to do this. We will bring in the NDF, like you said, and then you guys can do this from this time to this time.
Let me try to get you.
It shouldn't be the community leaders.
Let me try to get your point. Are you concerned about the harvest of the worms or hunting?
No, the harvest about the worms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're concerned about the harvest of the worms, when these people fenced off this area, nobody could predict the future, and nobody knew that there would be worms in that park. When they fenced off the area, they were protecting.
I wonder worms already. Yeah.
No, those things are seasonal.
It's not seasonal. So
sometimes they can be in this area. This year they are in this area. Next year they can be in that area.
It's just like
It
the
all
basis and
depends
all
on
that.
the raining.
Yeah, it depends on the raining. So what I'm saying, when the fencing happened, Mitch, nobody was actually looking forward to, look, we are fencing off this area so that nobody can go and hunt or harvest the worms in here. That was not the purpose. The purpose of fencing off the area was to prevent poaching and to protect the people that are surrounding this park from,
The purpose of the fencing was also to keep the animals inside the park. So that
Yeah.
they don't stray out. I mean, we've had incidents
It's
of
for
elephants.
safety,
Now listen.
for safety of both the inhabitants of those area and the safety of the animals.
Sure.
It's a safety for
Just,
both.
just like you said, let's not go back to the past. But now we're moving on and we see that, okay, this certain area is where this stuff are seasonally here. So why don't we make these provisions for the people? Because now we are seeing a lot of people coming in here and doing it illegally. And now we are going to be in trouble if somebody gets mold there. So why don't we put in those policies? Why should it be the leaders? That's the only thing I'm asking. You came through and fenced it off, and I know it's the reason for poaching.
The leaders are the one
and
that
what-
fenced it off. That's why it has to be the leaders. You see, that's why you don't understand, Mitch. I think you don't understand the structure of government, how it works. The reason why there are regional and community leaders.
You said the community leaders.
Community leaders can mean, councillors and,
Oh my
regional
goodness.
governors. And those are the people that are closer to government. And they are the ones, actually, they are there to, to provide reviews to central government. Do you understand?
So you don't mean like the village
No,
leaders?
I
What
don't
you
mean
mean like
village
the
leaders,
councillor of Chumkwe?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'm saying,
then you should have just put it that way.
I'm saying like, regional governors, councillors, and those are the people
Okay.
that are providing reviews to central government. And look,
Okay.
our people need this,
Mm-hmm.
It's the extension of government to the people. You understand my point?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
Now-
Those leaders should come through what the government said to get bring up a
Exactly.
policy for that. And
Exactly. That's my point. Now you understand me. When you get to the point of fencing, well, then fence it over, you lost him a little before. Coffee, maybe we can get to the
Let's just
comments.
get to a couple of the comments. Asino says, but the park is extended where people usually harvest the worms. I didn't realize that the Etosha Pan Park or the Etosha Park has been
Was
extended.
it extended?
Not as far as I know. Maybe someone else knows. Mitch, my baby daddy is shines, as a belief. That comes from Natalie. So, Mitch, you've got your answer there.
Oh.
Willem Amukwaya says, let those people stand back. They have more than enough land in the north to build and cultivate, while some of us in the south have zero. Laat hulle ophou, jene. Raymond says, Mitch, drink uit jou Castello beker uit. Lyk soos 'n Castello beker. Yes, it does. Mohau says, happy blessed birthday, Norma. May you be soaked in God's blessings today and always. Happy birthday, Norma. We didn't even realize it was your birthday. So from the Morning Mix team, and I know from Neville as well, we will tell him tomorrow that it was your birthday today. So happy birthday.
Whose birthday is it?
Norma Girth.
Oh.
Then Mitch Mutumba says, Mitch must just put down the cool drink and portion of chips, eat clean and work out. Tangedi with a capital T says, gaan daar regtig niks anders aan in Namibië nie. Wat 'n wurms en springkaan besigheid is dit tog. Willem says, if people from there can get green light to enter the national park to get to gather food, then others in the regions can also just do the same. Mutumba also says, shines, those regional leaders are brain dead. They have been brain dead for years. They must first consult the national government before they do anything. They were debating in parliament to give local authorities power. Then Mohau says, daar is ook Gaza se Susak wat ons kan bespreek. Robust Blossom says shines, and the Zeli Kotze says next topic. We are hammering too much on the topic of worms. Willem says please, let's get to the next topic. Mutumba says, Mitch, if we allowed that, the entire wildlife would have been poached, the white rhino would have been gone, extent because the local chieftains would have been bribed by international criminal groups. Look at the drama in the Kruger National Park.
Sure.
Mohau says also a whole 40 minutes. Okay, so we agree with you, our viewers and listeners. The topic of the worms is dead. We have to move on.
What are we talking about?
Well, I'd like to maybe, if we may,
Right.
we've got some people that have been in Dubai for a big show. There've been artists that have been
Lead me not into temptation, Coffee.
in Dubai. I know that Gaza was in Dubai. I know Ease was also there.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of politicians
Quite a lot of politicians.
there. All in the purpose of hopefully attracting foreign investment.
Yeah, even though it raised a few eyebrows, because Coffee, if you looked at a video and the presentation that was made by, of course, His Excellency and both the Minister of Finance, you could tell that most of the audience are Namibians.
Yes.
Now, of course, as an oral thinker that I am, and an analyst, I was sitting there all thinking to myself, wait a minute, we went there to speak to investors and attract investors and most probably sell the opportunities the land of the brave has.
Yes.
And it turns out that the opportunities that we were selling out or that we were advertising or have landed into the ears of the Namibians. I'm like, wait a minute. We got to Dubai to speak to Namibians, or maybe the camera person didn't really show much of the people in Dubai, or the residents of Dubai, or maybe the potential investor. Because you see, I was really concerned, Coffee, and I was like, no, wait a minute, this is something is not really right here, and a lot of Namibians went there.
Yes.
It looks like it was just a braai Namibians having a braai in Dubai.
With all of this, look, I totally agree that our political leaders should go out into the world and offer what Namibia has to offer for the benefit of Namibians and Namibia as a country. We've got natural resources, these are things that we can talk about in terms of benefit. But do we have to really always go with this huge entourage of people? And let me tell you something, I'm sure it's not a foreign nation that has paid for us to go there. I think it's our tax money that has gone towards that.
It definitely should be. And, if we are taking, it was a whole expo.
Yes.
And the whole expo needed a whole organizing committee.
Yes.
And, there was a budget set aside, of course, by the organizers. And who are the organizers? Namibian government or the NDP, what is the new company? Nangula Wanji's company. They were the organizing, and it's, of course, it's also one of the SOEs.
Right.
And you booked artists to go and perform. You pay for their logistics from here to there, and of course their performance fee, which I don't really have a problem. My only issue is that you went there to speak to the people that you came with, because literally they made up 90% of the crowd.
Yes. Mitch, what's your take on this?
Another angle on that. I think when we go out to showcase Namibia, Namibian music, everything to the world, not just to say Dubai. I've always wondered, why is it always the same artists that we book? Why do we?
You mean Gaza now?
Yeah, we always book this artist, and then we wonder how we cannot get Namibian music out to the world or the Namibian sound out to the world. But we have been doing the same thing over and over again. And I always had a problem with that. I know we're going to always settle around the ministers eating, the ministers, that's always a problem at every event. And I don't know how we will ever fix it. Because I believe when you're in a certain position, you kind of get certain perks. So like if you're a CEO, if you're a CEO, I don't know why people have a problem with ministers going out there and eating fancy or sleeping in a $1,000 hotel. Where do you want them to sleep?
No, but why do we have to take so many? We could have just sent 2 or maybe 1.
And
why do
and
we
let
have
them
to
stay where?
Why do we have to? Yeah, but why do we have to send like 20 of
Look,
them?
I don't really have a problem with ministers eating whatever they have to eat. My issue is, when do we actually, get to a point of realization that, hey, listen, we are using the state's, money,
Funds.
and that we should use it sparingly and in a way that we are not explicitly making it to the people that, hey, we went there to have a good time, but we went there to work.
Okay.
That's just point number one. Number two, Mitch, the thing of like, why all of the same artists, I'm not really concerned about that. Because every organizer have the right to choose whoever they want. If they are choosing the same person,
Was government organizer who?
I don't really care, unless we establish who the organizer was.
Okay.
But until we establish who the organizer was, that's really, I'm not concerned about why they took their certain artist. Because I'm not concerned about it. Even you, when you have a show, you choose who you want to work with you based on your experience, based on what they have. If their brand really is in reflection with what you want, I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah.
My concern is just that.
But we'll talk about it. Let's just finish the minister stuff quickly.
Okay, my concern is this, right? Could it be that we took a lot of Namibians to sell the Namibian culture out there? Or could it be that we took a lot of Namibians out there because we wanted to actually, when we go there, we have our own vibe, and even if nobody's listening, we still feel like, hey, we have a crowd?
And then also, I'd like to know, how successful was it?
How
much foreign income are we now getting? How much foreign investment are we getting from this exercise?
Yeah.
And has it really been equitable to do all of this?
How many business personnel were invited to this?
Yes.
The potential investors. Those are the things that I'm really concerned. I'm not concerned about the petty issues, who went to perform there, who went. I don't care about whoever went.
Maybe we just sold another 20 or 50 elephants to them.
Okay, so you're concerned about that, that people, the videos you probably saw, just showcase people having fun and just Namibians are not showing the residents of Dubai and probably potential investors. So you wanted more videos of probably our ministers having a sit down talking about our green scheme projects to some potential investors and so on. And just because you didn't see those videos, you feel like probably it didn't happen.
Look, it's I cannot speak for what I don't know. I'm only speaking for what I know. And there's a reason why the whole event was live streamed, is to give feedback to the Namibians. And we only know what you have showed us. So if you don't show us something, we make assumptions.
Sure.
And where there is no answer, we create our own.
Yes.
So what we are saying is, right, the onus is on government to show us that, look, what we went to do there is this. Maybe they have a report that coming later. I don't know. But what we're saying is this, right? The nation was left with no answers as to, what really transpired thereafter. Because all we saw is just video people having a good time. That's why I assumed, I say, could it be the fact that we went there to sell the Namibian culture that, hey, listen, this is how we are in Namibia.
This is our vibe.
This is our vibe. If you come there, this is how we welcome us. Or we went there to sell the opportunities that the Namibian land has to the potential investors.
Yeah. And before you go on, I just want to get something clear. Right. So are this type of meetings that you're talking about that you wanted us to see as Namibians usually broadcast? Like in the last expo, I don't remember seeing our minister probably just talking there on the podium about
what was the
our
expo?
green screen, the Dubai Expo. Yeah, he wasn't talking about any opportunities we have. They're just being Namibia is a good country to invest in, and would like to talk. They don't really get into those meetings like,
So
yo,
you say,
here's this land, here's this what. It's I don't
Te
think
lig in die broek. They are not. They're
they
not.
just keep it there. So I think the whole thing was just to be like, yo, selling the Namibian culture, because that's what I've been seeing.
Because
In all these expos that we have done, it was always about the Namibian culture. It was about the Namibian tribal dresses and all that. That's what they were selling. I've never seen in any time, and you can correct me, that we had a section where our minister goes up there and be like, selling our country or the opportunities.
Yeah, not only that, and then are politicians really good salespeople? Inherently, I would say no. They are controllers, regulators, politicians, administrators, that kind of stuff. If we have this kind of thing and we want to go to an international expo to sell Namibia, then we should be taking our sales experts that we have in this country and send them over.
Not ceremonials.
Don't send over politicians and singers and artists.
Because those are ceremonial individuals.
Yes.
Those are,
That's where I can
Yes.
say, Shines, I understand you having a problem probably with, our minister's having a good time eating what, but
look,
we,
Mitch, I don't
there
have-
I can understand it because
do you
we
see?
didn't go.
I
yeah.
think you misquoted. I don't have a problem with ministers sleeping in fancy hotels whenever they have to do.
Yeah, we'll
Going out and-
deal with that.
For as long as they go out there to fulfill their assignments, I don't have a problem. Look, he's a minister. I'm not expecting my ministers to sleep in a B&B
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
in Komasdal. First of all, it's their safety. I don't have a problem with it. Just execute what they have to do there.
Let me tell you where I also wouldn't have a problem with it if the country was prosperous.
Yeah, was
if the
prosperous.
country didn't have a housing problem.
Yeah.
If the country didn't have a hunger problem. If the
There
country
you go.
didn't have a criminal or a corruption problem. But we in Namibia have all these problems, and then we continue to send these politicians who are, shall we say, incompetent, okay? On a jolly patrolli over to Dubai, eating out of golden plates with golden spoons and forks and knives. Because did you see on social media the comparison between that meal that they were eating in comparison to the meal that was given out at the independence celebrations in Swakopmund?
Yeah.
That picture also did the rounds on social media.
Yeah.
So
But it's just a narrative that they're trying to drive.
I
right?
agree
And
with you that we wouldn't have a problem.
We wouldn't have a problem.
They would have been successful politicians, and if our Namibia would have been more prosperous.
My point, Calvi, you got it exactly. And I'm just saying that we don't have a problem with them. Of course, Dubai, is
expensive city.
not only expensive. They went there to showcase the good lifestyle of the Namibian. We were not expecting them to go eat hot dogs. Come on, they were in Dubai. Of course, you can't be eating hot dogs and telling people, hey, maybe come to Namibia, we have a good life there, and you're eating hot dogs. Of course, they should match the standard that you're selling.
Yeah.
But
What we are seeing in the one picture and what we're experiencing on the other.
on the other is a different one. And that's what the problem is, because
Yes.
there is no...
Let's just go through a couple of the comments. Jürgen Geisep says, "Eenie wat se wurms is dit vandag? Klink soos Eagle FM." No, Jürgen, we have stepped off the worm topic. Estimich says, "Hi you all, happy birthday Norma, enjoy your day." Tangeni with a capital T says, "Shines near because Gaza and Ease were invited." Yeah, I'm sure they were invited, Tangeni, but at a fee. Mutumba says, offering up our green schemes and telling investors they're allowed to take capital back to wherever they come from. Then Mohau says, okay, Mutumba, we know it's your sphere of influence, but can we talk about something else? Toch? Willem says, calculate all the S&T allowances on those comrades. Mutashio says, morning, Moro. Mutumba says, Mohau Siboli, it's what they were offering. Aha. Krini Nglovu says, but from my understanding, most green schemes are along something. I don't get it there quite. Tangeni with a capital T says the whole expo is a botch. Dubai is smart, inviting countries to come and spend money and boost their economy in return. Precisely. Agree with you, Tangeni.
That's one way.
Vanessa Guibeb says the government should release a report on what was done at the expo Grini says Kavango, thus water is not an issue but rather cost of energy. Markets are there via the country's horticulture marketing scheme. Then what is lacking from local ownership is capacity. The frameworks are in place from a strategic point of view. Is it not? Clotilda says, Guten Morgen, ihr Lieben. The expo is not even an issue in Germany. I haven't seen it on any official platform. This Namibian government is freaking the hell out of me. Up my heritage. Willem says, yes. How well did they perform to attract investors? That is what we're saying, Willem. How well did they do? Because if they obviously didn't do well, then we've sent the wrong people.
Yeah.
So he says, how well did they perform to attract investors as they took all the ministers as they attempt to sell our country? They should give a full report on what came back with our nation needs answers. Hulle is stout groot mense. Mutumba says they could have sent me at half the price. Yes, I agree. We could have probably sent more competent people at definitely half the price. Gaten Curtis says, morning guys, I think it's unfair to judge the entire trip based on a few videos we've seen. The best way to go about it will be to invite one or two of the guys that traveled to give an accurate debrief of what happens there. As far as I'm concerned, most conferences and expos have one main opening session with keynote speakers, etc. What we would see on TV, and this is usually followed by many working sessions, or what we never see on TV.
Maybe probably just at a stall.
Mohau says, indeed, Kofi, their presence and the expenses around Dubai does not in any way make Namibia better. Raymond Basson says, it's true, Mitch. You can see South Africa tourist industries being promoted all over the world. We are not promoting Namibia enough. That I agree with, Raymond. We are not promoting Namibia enough in terms of tourism and hospitality. And yes, we've had COVID. And do you know that I read in one of the locals this morning, there've been 15,000 retrenchments during the COVID period, just in the tourism and hospitality alone. Willem says, preach, Mitch, preach. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Vanessa says, these politicians just look for any and every opportunity to chop SNT money. Mutumba says, PLO, Lumumba once said, power corrupts, especially in public office, because public office holders think they are demigods and forget as to why they hold those offices and titles. Hendrina says, good morning. Tini says, do you all realize that this expo has been ongoing for 8 months? Yeah.
I remember I also I read something like that, because there was a time when their CEO, Ms. Nangola Wanja, went to Dubai some months ago, and she's been talking about this expo. Yes. I don't know if it's been going on or they've just been planning it for it.
Estomich says, no problems with ministers sleeping in bed and breakfast. I see ministers here cycling to work, the king not having a huge team around him. Him as a winter sports lover, given the nation is good at... Him as a winter sports lover, given the nation is good at it, he attend those events, greet the winners. I want to see leaders who cares for every small things the nation does. The country is its people. Without the people, it won't function. And then Tangeni with a capital C saying, money-making scheme by Dubai. And with that, I think we're at the end of this particular topic. We've basically spoke about the worms, and we've clobbered this whole thing to bits and pieces.
There's a very interesting story in one of our dailies.
Right.
It said the Namibian police arrested 4 police officers with regards to the theft of firearms from the Nampol Central Depot last Friday. 2 of the arrested officers carried the ranks of inspector, while the other 2 warrant officers who were all working at the Central Depot. They are expected to appear in the Katutura magistrate today.
So we've got
some of the items were also recovered, as we see.
But are we surprised?
What items were those?
Are you surprised? Firearms.
Firearms.
So we've got our own police, senior officers in the police. We've got inspectors and warrant officers stealing weapons at the weapons depot of the police.
How
fantastic!
How easy
that is amazing
it for you as a Namibian to get a gun on the street. What do you think about like how easy will it be if our police officers are the ones stealing this? Who do they sell it to, or what? For what do they keep?
Illegally.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty easy to get a gun illegally in Namibia.
Very easy. I believe.
Very easy. It just depends on the price.
And why would they be stealing it even? Like,
I'm always mesmerized when people get surprised, actually, when police officers are involved into crime activities. You know? Those people are human. And when you're a human that you lack ethics, regardless of whether you are the president or you are the police officer, you are the judge, he will steal. Just because they are police officers, it doesn't mean that they won't do any crime. I'm not even surprised because these things happen a lot, just that most of them are never brought to light.
but I think if you hold a certain kind of position in society,
You need to have ethics.
yeah, and when you do stuff like that, you're opening the floodgates. That's why only certain type of people should hold these positions.
Yes.
That's why I think we shouldn't have people that we know are going to act this way, that we know most of the police officers or even our ministers and what. We've lived with these people in the streets. We've lived with them in the suburbs. We know what type of person this is, but yet we'll still vote them in because we just know these people.
Yeah, but for example, now the police officers are not even, recruited based on ethics or whatever. Anybody that applies. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just up to you to have ethics that, listen, man, no, I cannot do this. And, when you have respect for what you're doing in the office that you're sitting, you wouldn't do that. But I'm not surprised that this happened to our police officers. You know what I'm saying? I just say, look, they must just go and pay for the prices. They must just go and be held accountable for the crime that they have done.
Yeah, we
send a message out there that, listen, for whoever or any other police officer out there that are still planning to do the same thing or maybe have done the same thing,
Look,
we call them out.
The thing is this, please don't tell me that these police officers basically stole these weapons for their own use.
No,
they stole them to sell them off.
Because they have clients.
Exactly. So
It's a supply and demand basis.
yeah, it's a continuous crime on crime thing.
Yeah.
The stealing of the stuff is a crime.
It's a crime.
Then smuggling the stuff
Is a crime.
Selling it
Selling
off
illegally
is a crime. So it's like just, we've got police officers that are just involved in a whole string of crimes.
in the past 5 to 6 years, we have seen a trend of robberies from the cash in transit, and it has been growing now. We never knew this stuff in Namibia. We'd see this in South African movies, and we'd be like, in Namibia, you will die. You will never try it. You'll never try it. Now, one that happened was back then in the early 20s. Those guys are still in jail till now, I know. And then one happened in Lutrix, and then one happened somewhere here at Westline. And
I
then
remember that one,
Westline, and then one happened in Katutura, just by Tamarafir. So this is how these guys are getting their supply.
Yep.
Because one of the things I believe why our criminals never tried that, but usually used to do break-ins into big shops, shopping centers like Spa and all that, is because they don't have the firepower that our police have. So now if you can have a AK-47 to stand against the police officers, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you want to do that? If you have a pump action to stand against 3-4 pump actions, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you think that you stand a chance?
The reason why we are failing to stop crime is because the people that are fighting crime are the ones that are undercoverly fueling crime. You got somebody who has so much connection that even when it happened, even when they were apprehended or anything of that sort, they have their backups. Sometimes it doesn't even get any further. You send somebody to a police officer to a crime scene, and he goes there, he's his homie, the person that he sold that gun to. What he's gonna do first?
Oh, well,
the guys fled the scene. We haven't seen them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's happened. Look, guys, we've got the Arms and Ammunition Act 7 of 1996, so it has been revised, this Arms and Ammunition Act, post-independence, and it is a 22-pager, and I've kind of briefly gone through it, and I must say they cover quite a lot of events. But now let's look at this last news item that we had, where a 42-year-old Namibian woman and her 23-year-old Zambian boyfriend are fighting for their lives after a jilted ex-lover opened fire on them at their residence in Katima in the Zambezi region. So this ex-lover of hers traveled from Kwena to Lisikili. I'm not too sure, maybe if our Zambezi friends that are currently watching can tell us how far is Kwena to Lisikili, because I can imagine that can be quite a distance. He went there with a gun and shot her in the thigh and him in the arm, and they are in critical condition at the moment in the Katima Mulilo hospital. So I'd like to know, do you, just by pure speculation, and it's speculation, do you think this gun that this guy used is illegal? Is legal, or is
Most
it
of the
illegal?
times, I don't think they're legal that are used.
Yes.
It's probably somebody else as a friend or what.
Right.
And this person just takes it, or they buy it from the street.
Oh, that gun at some stage was registered. At some stage, that gun had a registration number on it, and then for some other reason, that gun then either got lost or got stolen or whatever the case, and now that gun ends up in this guy's hands, and now we've got two people lying in hospital in a critical condition.
And a funny story that I've always had in my mind is, I've always felt like governments, and I'm not just talking about our government, but governments, and I'm saying literally, kind of drives crime. You know, we had stories about the American government pushing in drugs in the black community and so on. We had stories about some governments supplying guns into streets so there can be a street war because there are gangs. So I was always thinking that this is always happening in all the countries so these guys can have a job. So they can have something to talk about.
So in other words, let's create crime so that we can justify the police.
And that's what I've been always feeling like, why? And we had stories that we have senators in from Chicago saying that they have pushed in a lot of firearms between gangs to hype up the violence. And you can do nothing about it. You can,
Right, but I mean, then why don't we just get why do we have to have this very complicated Arms and Ammunition Act of 1996, which I think, by the way, is a brilliant act. It's a 22-pager. It covers basically all the details. Why then have all of this together with our police inspectors stealing guns out of depots to resell at some stage, whilst over weekends we've got jealous boyfriends shooting their ex-lovers and their new boyfriends, and we have armed robberies, we've got old people being attacked, being cut and shot and you name it, whatever it is. Shouldn't we then rather just relax? No, not remove the act, but just make it very, very general, like the Americans have it, and start selling guns at supermarkets, because then at least we are creating economy.
But then we will be shooting each other. Everybody will want to. Everybody will be trigger happy, like in America. Everybody is trigger happy.
But then the police has got a job. Fantastic, isn't it?
If that's the way, if we're saying that we are creating jobs for the police, then we might just as well just let everybody have access to a gun.
Yeah, but why shouldn't everybody of legal age have access to a gun for the self-defense?
Yeah, but look at this. If the police are working with the criminals, because we know these guns, the police that stole it, they are not using it for their own personal use. It's probably going to a criminal that's gonna rob me
for profiteering.
Yeah. So why don't we relax the gun laws and we all have it? And
one thing I've always never understood, is that the police has these regulations and laws of confiscating things, and most of the things when are confiscated, they are stored somewhere and they are never given back to these people. I asked the commissioner Basson when he was here one day, I said, what happens to those things? there was never an answer.
Right.
In most cases, some of these materials, it's either they are stolen by the police officers and be sold back to the community.
Mm-hmm. You've got to remember, all these weapons are lying at the weapons depot.
Yeah.
So if they're not given back, or then the police has to deal with these firearms in some way or other.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm just thinking out loud, they should be destroyed. Those weapons should be destroyed. But I mean, they probably end up at auction.
Or being sold back in the street again.
Or being stolen and sold back.
Yeah.
Illegally.
Illegally.
But I mean, let's look at a legal process just for a brief moment.
Yeah.
They should then either be given back, if it's a legal weapon, to its legal owner, right? Or that weapon, if it's just basically lying there and cannot be returned to its legal owner, that
It
weapon
must be
should
destroyed.
actually be destroyed. Or that weapon should be sold maybe at auction to gun dealers who can then go and resell it. In other words, we then create an economy again.
Yeah.
You know? Those would be the options. Obviously,
Yeah.
the last option of stealing them.
And those are some good options for really. Yeah.
And how many
Good
times
options.
have we have stuff lost that are in the hands of police? Like stuff, we hear that some trucks were lost, but it was in the hands of some firearms that were taken from the thieves is lost. How many times has that happened and we did not hold the Namabian police units accountable for it?
Yes.
We did not demand as a people. We want to know where there's this much of that trucks went that you told us about, that you took from the criminals.
We need to have the evidence that you destroyed those drugs.
Yeah. And do we have a policy that they probably put out after, like, okay, we got this much drugs from the criminals and we have destroyed it. This is the report. This is the proof.
Let's say even
Something is just not adding up.
A weapon,
Yeah.
a weapon or a drug that has been confiscated by the police needs to be kept as evidence for quite some time.
Yeah.
But if the legal system now just, literally takes years and years and years and years to, eventually sort these cases out, these weapons and these drugs are just lying in depots. They then get misadministrated. They don't get looked after the right way. They get misadministrated. Perhaps they're not being, signed
Accounted
in.
for, yeah.
Then the next thing, there are other people that have got access to those things. They then go and remove them. Then it becomes a problem again because that evidence is then not available in court. It's just an ongoing
It's a
disaster.
problem. Because when, for example, something confiscated 15 years ago has been there, and there's this police officer who has been there for a long time. This thing has been there. I think nobody really knows more about it anymore. I remove it. And then most probably they've been doing this because the question is always, how long have they been doing this before they are caught?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
always
that's a
the
very
issue.
good question.
Very good question. Let's just have a look at a couple of the comments. Also, Willem Amukwaya says, or did they go withdraw the money from the fish rot accounts? Just asking. He's still referring to the expo. Greenie says, rather 5 months, not 8 October 2021, ending March 2022. Mutuma says, the question is, how long has this been happening? It's a problem in SA. Greenie says, that's how cash heist goons get their weapon supply, high-grade military and police service rifles. When such happens, SA is a case study. Mutumba says, Trini Lovo, very true. Samuel Hendricks says, morning crew, Dubai in a good space of time, build Dubai with its resources. After 32 years, Namibia is in debt while we have resources. Why is Dubai not looking for investors? We are running around for investors just to chop the money. Just thinking. Esther Mitch says, Mitch, take fish rot. It should have taught you that ethics get overpowered by greed. People are selfish. Mutumba says, we must ask for a gun audit to be done on the army and the police officers. Absolutely, Mutumba. 100% correct. Mitch, it is not the first time that guns being stolen from police depots, and this is the first time that we catch the culprits, and it's always an inside job. Who's the people? Who's in charge of the depots? It's the police. Jürgen Geisep says, shot in arm and thigh. Now they are in critical condition. I want to see that gun. Must be a Omashasho. What is a Omashasho?
It's a rifle.
Is that what it's called? Must be.
shotgun
You
is
mean
a
a
shotgun.
long?
It's a shotgun.
Is it a shotgun? Okay. Willem Amokwea says ministers and councillors also commit corruption. It will be very easy for a police officer to do the same if they have easy access to guns. Raymond Banson says Windhoek is vrot van onwettige guns. Estimich says cops, when they are bad, they support each other. Bro codes. Yes, we know that. They are as thick as thieves, one would say, Estimich. They can still and get away with it. Do you honestly think all the drugs trafficking recovered? It's like having an abusive man, but he's a cop. Reporting him at times does not help. Have seen many cases that they cover their own and forget to serve and protect. Robos Blossom is saying it's a cycle. It sure gets back to the community. Maxwell Chiero says, imagine going to Pick and Pay to buy a gun. Then the shop workers point a gun at you because you've mixed up the goods on the shelves. Yeah. Estimich says, my dear, guns can hit those areas yet touch other sensitive parts, plus every part that has nerves can cause critical conditions. Robust Blossom says, I would never want to have a gun on my own. Yeah, that is also a way of looking at it. Do you have a gun?
No.
Shines, do you have a gun? Aha, okay.
Shines is 2. Like you're this dude. Pa, pa, pa,
Nah.
pa, pa,
My
Stop before I shoot.
I only actually pick them up in a car when I'm going to the farm, especially when I'm driving alone at night, and I put one here at the back seat.
So you're a guy that feels unsafe.
Look, guns are for safety. I don't know what, because we use them for fights, but they are for safety. They are
Safety from what?
From anything that is trying to overpower you.
Now, if you look at the Arms and Ammunition Act, Act 7 of 1996, there are various reasons as to why you are allowed to own a gun.
Yeah.
One is for self-defense. One is for hunting.
Yeah.
Okay? And the other one would be for, competition shoots as a sport.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can also own a gun as a collector.
Yeah.
If you've got a collector's license, then you can own
guns as
a multiple amount of guns.
Yeah.
But can I say, we all know that guns were not created to protect yourself. They were created to conquer countries and to really kill people. They were not.
Guns were created
Yeah.
for war.
For war, like to
Okay.
conquer other countries.
But you
much
can have
more
guns
easier.
for other reasons too.
Yeah, but I'm saying the main reason it was is
Yes.
to be more powerful than somebody you're
Where did we
invading.
find that reason from?
How were guns created?
No, I'm just
Guns
saying.
came from cannons.
I'm just
from
saying.
from the
Where,
cannon
where,
powder
did
to.
where did we find that reason from?
That's what the Europeans used to do to us, isn't it?
And we just assumed.
And we didn't have guns.
But in the
isn't
old
it?
days, we only had swords.
So did
And pipes.
somebody
So,
somebody
and then,
say
and then
I
are we
will
gonna
have
say,
a gun?
And then are we going to say
and-
that sword were created to actually just stab?
A
Is that
sword
what we're
was
saying?
also created for that. Probably a
No.
bow and arrow is one weapon that I would say was created to hunt.
Multi-purpose. Some of those things have multi-purpose.
But I'm just saying, but a bow and arrow, what we know it about is like hunt.
Yeah, no,
but
yeah, of
not
course.
a sword.
But
Sword
now,
was like
Mitch,
to
I want to ask you something.
behead people and all
I
that.
tell you, you know these guys that are standing on the street selling stuff. I know they get it from the Chinese, and then they go and they send. So we have to go and comply with this quite complicated and serious Arms and Ammunition Act 7 of 1996. But when you get out your car at, let's say, Womenebrock in Olympia, a guy approaches you with a knife like this that you can go and buy from him. But to own a gun, you need to have a license, or you can go and just easily get it
Yeah.
off the street illegally. Whilst we are taking our family shopping, I can go buy a massive knife. I tell you, it'll literally stab through you if I were to sit here and just do that. And that is okay.
But
The
you can't have a
police
gun.
doesn't take that guy off the street.
But we have seen
Come on.
more. But in Namibia, we've seen more knife crimes than gun crimes. Like I
Oh,
would say,
Okapi.
more knife, like from okapis to
Yes.
pankas to everything.
Please.
But my whole reason is this: let's just be honest. Why wouldn't all the countries just decide we won't have weapons anymore?
How?
Like why wouldn't they just sit down and say we won't? Everybody must just destroy all their weapons That's the way we know nobody will invade anybody else or whatsoever. They
Yeah,
won't do it because
War is money.
war is money.
Yeah, even
And
that,
having a gun is either it's not always for defense. It's not always for defense. It's also for if somebody disagrees with you and you want to bring your point across, like we've seen just now, you can invade that person or you can hurt that person.
Yes, but that would be a
no,
crime.
You see, we are not actually
is
talking
good.
about. Okay, I think Mitch is driving the owning of guns politically. We are concerned about, as civilians. All right, why would you have a gun as a human? We're not saying why should countries have guns. We're not really concerned about that for now. That is something out of our reach, and we don't really care about it. But I'm saying for somebody to have a gun, it's not only to kill people.
Sure.
It's not. You can have a gun. My dad had a lot of guns, and he died without killing anybody. Not even shoot any person. Not even like to, threaten anybody with a gun.
If you ask somebody, listen, why do you have a gun? You say, no, I'm scared of snakes.
Or was it put in the position to?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Look, I was put in a position a lot of time. I was in a road rage, a really terrible one.
Right.
But I had my gun here with me.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, because he has a Land Cruiser, is a bigger car, so this guy decided to drive in front of me. Just because what happened, I turned in first. Then he felt like he was supposed to go first. And then he came to my lane. And then he stopped in front of me so that I could, I don't know what, it probably maybe me to hit, my car to hit on his car. And then I drove aside. Then I went. And then again, the next traffic lights, this guy comes and rolls his window. Then he points me a middle finger. And then he drives like this. Then you know what I did? I turned around and drove back. This guy followed me until to the service station.
Right.
Then he said, yeah, why are you driving? I'm like, dude, I just drove what I needed to do. And of course, my car is faster than you. It's a Mercedes. I pulled over faster than you because yours is it's a pickup, is a Land Cruiser. And I went because I knew there's no way you're going to catch me. Yeah, but I was supposed to do, so I thought it was unnecessary. I was triggered.
But
Even to a point where my car was.
No,
look. I'm just saying, even to a point where my car was scratched. Do you know how a lot of people pull out guns and shoot your tire?
No, but why? That's not.
But you know
somebody
what I
didn't
did?
pull out a gun to you.
Because you
Why
never
shoot
had
the person?
Look, you never had a gun before. You know what a gun makes you feel.
That's why.
When you have a gun, you feel like you are in charge.
Now we're getting
So
there.
now-
When you are in a
Now
gun and
we're
you don't
getting there.
have self-control, you feel like you are dictating the situation. And of course you can. That's why even by law they say when you have a gun,
So it's a gun
you
for safety.
can dictate how the situation will end. It's
So
really
is
up
it for
to you.
safety? Actually, it's not.
It's for
But
safety.
No.
is it also
You have
that
to assess the
people that are
situation and when
wearing
you
guns
need to.
will more easily pull the gun?
We'll pull the gun. You
You
just need,
become trigger happy when you have a gun.
you just need to know when to use your gun.
Look, a lot of people now would have walked away from that situation if they didn't have a gun.
Right.
That's what I mean. And that's where I come through with. Like, look, if you have a gun and it is at your house and somebody breaks into your house, you are allowed to protect your family by all means.
Exactly.
All means. If you are at a bar, you have an argument with a guy and a guy pulls a gun on you, you have, those are situations that you're put into that. But now you have a guy that's arguing with you, wants to fight with you like with the fist, and now you have a gun and you want to delete this guy.
That's why we're saying that, right? You just need to know when to use. The self-awareness is important.
Yeah.
If you know that you are the type of person that easily you can pull out it, because you see, a gun is not something that you just pull out to threaten people.
Oh, they do.
No.
Ah.
When you pull out a gun, use it.
Yeah.
Couldn't you-
And this is can we go through processes before people get guns and licensed guns? Probably some screening to be done, a lot of background check. People have to go for anger management classes and all that.
Yeah, but then you would only attract the good gun owners into that process, because the bad gun owner will just get one from the street illegally. You understand? So you wouldn't get a bad gun owner going through this entire process just for him to get a gun. However, Trini says necessity, in other words, fear, drives necessity. In other words, fear drives one to own one, depending on where you are, not domiciled, or where you are domiciled. Other places you are not even safe at home, let alone in your car or office. Mutumba says, Mitch, guns don't kill people. People kill people. That's correct.
Very important.
Readiness Chikongo says, Trini, do you own a gun? Maxwell says there's a non-lethal gun sold here in Windhoek called the Burner. It costs like $5,000. The good thing is that it doesn't kill because the bullets don't penetrate. Special bullets that hit you very, very hard and immediately pop and release a fluid like pepper spray to irritate the person you shot. Yes, Maxwell, we know about those guns. We also know about these, let's say, fake guns, or even what do you call them, these BB guns.
Yeah, BB guns.
And they look like the real thing.
Even the weight, they're heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you pull that gun, the other person who maybe also has a gun,
He'll shoot you.
he'll shoot you because he doesn't realize that is a BB gun or just a lookalike.
Yeah.
Trini says, easy to own one legally, but very difficult to use one legally. As current regulations stand, use of a gun legally is
Yeah.
very strict.
It's very strict to us too, man.
Yes, so we still know about that one lady that shot those people that assaulted her, and subsequently she didn't get any bail either. Raymond Basson says, Mitch, you rather have a gun and don't need one than have one and need one. A license one I'm talking about. Esther Mitch says, I don't hunt and won't hunt. I am a Peter. Won't even own one, don't need it. Luckily, my area is super safe. I can leave the house open out for hours without any worries. I can leave my groceries outside the shop, go home, carry what I can, tell the kids to go get the rest outside the shop without the groceries being stolen. I do respect those that own guns for protection. Jürgen Geisep says the Namibian Expo staff will only be returning in May. Therefore, it's going to be 8 months. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just continue spending.
It's just look at all these times where we could have avoided a lot of situations, and then you go find these guys that probably get cheated on, and they take the situation, and we end up losing our sisters, our mothers. It just happens because you have the convenience to just delete somebody.
Yes. Mutumba is saying the weapon business is worth 118 billion Namibia dollars. Mohau says it's the Merc pot for me. Well done, Mohau. Maybe Shines should give you a little bit of a spin in his Mercedes. Mohau says let's enter. Check the stock exchange of American companies that deal in military hardware, how their stock prices is performing lately. Check what private security is earning in South Africa and how big the industry is. Alfredo Gaines says, I have two guns, my left hand and my right hand. I call them Pedro and Yolanda. But in all seriousness, it's good to have a licensed gun if you are psychologically well and mature enough to own one, knowing that you will only use it in the worst case scenarios like robbers breaking into your home and stuff. But even with that, if you shoot a robber inside your home, the cops are going to come and arrest you for the better part until all of that is then being resolved.
Yeah, you come out anyways, but you come out.
But if you kill him, you can be charged for murder, isn't it?
No, you have to be charged for murder.
No,
you have to be charged for homicide.
Being charged doesn't necessarily mean you are convicted.
Yes.
You were just sent for a fair trial.
And it has to be investigated.
Yeah, and then you have to be in jail for that.
Well, you will be arrested. And of course, you go there, and then because you appear.
You've got to remember, it's investigative arrest.
Investigative arrest.
But you know how you guys know how bad jail is,
and
you know how jail can change your life in 1 day or 2 days.
When you are arrested, you appear. Our laws say within the next 48 hours.
Yeah, but it's not a problem. The fact is, inside jail, your life could be changed in 1 day.
No. We all know about jail, but we're still talking about guns.
And that's the problem with the law that I have.
What if we don't take you to jail, but you just shot somebody because you had a gun?
Yeah, I shot somebody in
Because
my house.
remember, they
In
were
my
not there.
house.
What if that person was just one of your friends who came to visit you, and then and then boom, and then a fight broke through? Because these people were not there. They don't really know what happened. That's why they are given this break to investigate and find out the evidence that will lead to the truth.
And I understand that part. All I'm saying is like, look, even if somebody is attacking me,
Yeah.
and I shoot this person to defend because I'm in fear of my life, I still need to go to jail, and I could meet that person's
I will give you a
brother,
good
sister
scenario.
there inside.
I will give you a good scenario, right? Let's say me and you are getting into a fight. You have a gun. I come out to you. I'm holding a bottle of beer that I want to smash your face. Okay? And then you realize there comes Shines. He wants to destroy my face. You have a gun. And then boom, you shot me. Dead on the spot. Is that self-defense or not?
It is.
Okay. Now, this is now where it gets interesting. Between a gun and a bottle, which one is more likely to end the situation?
Which one is more likely to?
To end somebody's life.
A gun.
Okay. Now, in which way was the person holding a bottle in any way a threat to your life?
Yeah, that can be done while I'm outside. Why can't that be done while I'm outside? I shot you there.
That's what I'm saying. Because you see, that's why they say when you have a gun, you have a responsibility, and you know you are in charge of the situation. You can end somebody's life. Self-defense does not come in a way that when you are in a position of power.
Yeah.
You are only allowed self-defense when you are in a position of vulnerability. That, hey, that guy had a gun. It was a matter of, who survives.
Yeah, okay. So that guy had a knife. He was holding me by my neck.
Yeah.
It was a matter of who dies.
Look, you can shoot them on the legs, but don't
No,
kill
no, and that will also depends from the distance we have. That will depend. And why can't that be done while I'm outside?
All what really matters is that, they just look at the elements of self-defense. And if you qualify any of those, you go out.
Yeah, and look, I don't have a problem with
You'll have to
all
argue
that.
your way out there and make sure that you
I
really
don't-
have the
Yeah.
when it comes to self-defense,
I
you
don't.
meet the
I
requirement
really
and you
don't have a
qualify.
problem with that, man. Let me tell you how our police work. They have a cell, right? They have cells like in the police station.
Time is
B, C, A, what they call it. So now you come through there, you through your mother's house windows. Your mom called police. You're 12, let's say 16, 18 year old. It's the first time police were called on you.
Right.
This guy murdered his wife and kids and sister and what. This guy violently stabbed somebody there. So they go put all of you guys. This guy was caught on DUI. They go put all of you in that cell. Bah, like that. These guys have nothing else to lose than you. Who do you think they will target in that? You.
Who are you talking about when you are in jail?
When they put you on the holding cells before you go to appear in court, you are with those murderers there. You are with guys that has killed people.
So you're
and
scared?
you just there for DUI. And it's not about being scared. It's about they will target you, and you might have to defend yourself, and you might just pick up another murder there.
Okay,
That can change your life.
I don't understand the point of your concern. So you're saying that people with similar crimes should be kept in a
people with lesser crimes should be kept in a certain type of holding cell. Then people that have already went to and
But-
they still have to wait for them to be sentenced to the big jail.
But do you think we have the capacity and the resources to make
We should
separate
make it
custody?
available, because now we're just gonna make. Have you been to jail?
But you
Have you been to jail?
You do understand
Mitch,
that.
we understand what you're on about.
Yeah.
We are talking about guns now. Now, in the meantime,
No,
we're
I'm
talking
just-
about jail.
Yeah.
Let's just focus it back to
It
the
is
point that
focused.
because we can open up tomorrow a
Yeah.
topic on jail.
on
And-
jail's
Yeah.
conditions and
But let's
rehabilitation.
maybe just also get some of
Comments.
the comments before we
Okay.
end the show.
Yeah.
Mutumba is saying we have guns too. I haven't shot someone yet, or I did, and it was a poacher who just slaughtered a whole kudu bull. Beside, our gun laws don't allow us to shoot to kill. Robust Blossom say, I know myself, a gun and me, that's a bad combination. Estimich says, all car owners should own a paintball gun just for the traffic. Coffee, your friend Jerry Springer posted Will and Chris. Caption, Jerry. Estimich says, Mitch, the boys in jail will love you. Your comedy will change after you are released. Go slap a minister and see.
Ask the boys in jail.
I get you, Mitch, but unfortunately the law separates emotional reasoning. Hence, the spirit of the law is not pursued in interpretation than the letter of the law. I stand corrected. That comes from Trini.
Yeah, but Trini.
Mutuma says, Trini in Lovo, self-defense is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And the last comment here, Mitch, must you always drag things on? Ek volg eens nie meer nie. And that is why I told him we'll talk about jail another time.
You'll be jailed if you go do self-defense.
In the meantime, the weather. In Namibia, the interior partly cloudy in the northeast with a few thunder showers, elsewhere fine and warm to hot. The coast, partly cloudy and cool to mild with mist in the morning with a wind moderate northwesterly to southwesterly. Looking at the maximum temperatures for today, in Windhoek 27, Walvis Bay 24, Swakopmund also 24. Katima Mulilu 30, then we're going to Umuthia 32, Ondangwa 33, Oshakati also 33. In Otjiwarongo today 28 with Rehoboth 28. Mariental today 33 with Keetmanshoop. Let me just find Keetmanshoop 32, and then Beitepos and Gobabis are both 31 degrees Celsius maximum for the day. And that basically brings our show to the end. Thank you very much for all of you who've joined us from the Morning Mix, from Shinesy and Michi.
That's what we do.
Coffee.
Thank you so much, guys,
It's
for being here. We
cheerio.
love you so much.
Yeah, but.
And average birthday today.
Norma
Enjoy it,
Goods,
man.
ne?
Yeah?
Is it Norma Good's birthday?
Norma Guth.
Yeah.
Birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
Norma.
Normus.
Here we go.
Numbers for Normus.
And we're not holding back no more.